Okay, once during one of the showers, you said that it's easier to achieve enlightenment alone than in a relationship. I'm a shaumbra,
Did I say that?
probably.
Yes, I did.
I'm a shaumbra, thus I consider myself a pioneer of new consciousness. Is it not so that I can go beyond this paradigm, choose my own way, and trust that even when in an intimate relationship, I can achieve realization?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't say it was undoable. I just said it's more difficult. And if I was back on the earth right now, I was Shaumbra, I would choose to do it without the relationship. Or I would have the type of relationship that allowed me a tremendous amount of freedom. Finding a partner, a compatible partner, is the hard thing. Although I will state that there are actually a lot of Shaumbra couples around the world, man and wife, man and man, woman and woman. A lot of Shaumbra couples have an agreement before they ever came in that one of them would go for enlightenment, while the other one kind of stood as a tether. They wouldn't get all involved in it. They would be agreeable to their partner going into it, but they would kind of be the placeholder. Then when their partner came to realization, then they would kind of use that as the light to get to their own. So there was quite a few Shaumbra that have that agreement that one will go first, then the other one will come after. My statement wasn't against relationships. It was just saying it's really harder doing it in a relationship, because now you've got to, in your own coming to realization, you got to put up with Cauldre and his he doesn't like this, but that's okay. His idiosyncrasies, his the pressures that are on him and his life and both your lives. It'd be easier to do it on your own. Maybe not as enjoyable, but easier.
He has a spell on me.
Yeah, well, that's why I say it'd be better to do it on your own. Relationships play a huge role in anybody's realization. It is easier for a single atheist to go into realization than a married, devoted spiritual fan, because when you're not carrying the burden of a relationship, you can allow as much as you can allow. You're not having to worry about other people and their thoughts and their interferences and everything else. There are not many who can do this with a bad relationship. It is very, very difficult, and you'll find something has to break. There are very few who can do this together in a good relationship, because it is so personal in nature. And no matter how good your relationship is, let's say you're both Shaumbra, you're both going into realization, it's still difficult because it is a very personal journey. And part of you is still connected into that other person regarding your enlightenment, even if you say that you're not, because part of you is still tied into them, and there's kind of almost an unwritten, unsaid agreement. Well, we're going to do this together, meaning we're going to go at the same pace. And then the dragon come in and find that and break it. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because simply it can be a detriment to realization. You can both be doing it. If you're a happy couple both going into realization, you could both be doing it, but you do it separately. Don't make your realization contingent on theirs. And don't do things like saying, well, you go first, I'll come after you. It simply, it inhibits it. It just makes it a lot more difficult and challenging. This is your realization, not anybody else's. It's your energy, your realization, it's your time. And yes, theoretically, two people, partners in the same household can do it at the same time, but that's when we're going to put in the big storybook, because it hasn't, it's rarely happened, and it's always has its challenges. So if you are doing this with a partner, it's fine to share what you're going through, but don't make your realization contingent on theirs. And think about it this way. Let's say you wake up Wednesday morning and you're suddenly realized and your partner isn't. What are you going to try to do? Well, right now, you would try to get them realized. You would try to coax them into realization, and you can't. It doesn't work. And then they're going to feel an odd and undue pressure from you. So you could see having your own space is so essential right now. Some of you are still out there searching for soulmates and partners and boyfriends and one-nighters. Just give it a little bit more time on your own, because that is, to me, just my opinion, perhaps the easiest way into realization. Once you start involving other people, it becomes much more difficult. I'm not saying break up, but it wouldn't hurt if maybe you live separately for a little while, or at least we're so committed to giving each other their space. Love is very pure. Love is beyond words, as you said yesterday, but very, very beautiful. Can't be defined. It's that feeling. It's a sacred thing, actually. But along the way in your experiences with love, of course, you've encountered many challenges and difficulties. And one of the biggest ones that is still with so many of you, that is still with all of you, every single one of you here, is the lost love syndrome. There has been one that you have been more intimately connected to than any other. There is the one that was the epitome of love. There is the one that you'll never forget. Even if you've forgotten up here, you'll never forget here. It could have been 10 lifetimes ago or 100. It could have been maybe in this lifetime, but the chances are, and please excuse me for saying this, but the one that you're sitting with right now, if you're together with another, is not it. You had this love of all loves, the standard of a love relationship somewhere in the past. It was the most beautiful experience of all. There was no taking from each other, it was only sharing. There was no restriction on the other, it was only freedom. There was no karmic overlay with this person. It was clean, it was clear. And you've used that lost love as the standard or as the template for all the others along the way. And you've had many others. But none of them could ever hold a candle, could ever meet that high standard of this one love. You could write books about it, to do movies and write songs, because this is such a beautiful love. You've had many, many, many others since then, but none like this. You've tried to repeat it. You've tried to find another, but there hasn't been. So what I'd like to do at this point is to have you get very relaxed. Take a deep breath. You can call in this love. And if you choose, you can call this being in to be present with you right now. Well, Edith has something she'd like to share with everybody, a number of things. Edith says, first of all, she wants to come back because there was something in her life that was really missing. A number of things, if I'm not mistaken, but there was one thing that was really missing in your life. And that was her lost love. A lost love, a lover who she had spent many, many lifetimes with, who was not here in this lifetime. They had made a vow to each other a long time ago. And she's telling me from even the times of Yeshua, they made a vow that they were going to come back together for their ascension, for what we now call realization. And the one that she was hoping to meet in this lifetime never came along. So she waited and waited and waited. And she wasn't necessarily consciously aware of this, but she dreamed about it a lot at night. This true love of all of her lives. They wanted to do their ascension together. She actually said that in one lifetime they took their own lives together, thinking that was the way, but found out that didn't lead to ascension. She came into this lifetime in 1938, hoping that her, and Edith, I don't want to call it a soulmate, I know that was your term there that you used, or twin flame either, but hoping that her true love would be there also, that she would find him or he would find her. And the years passed, her childhood years, and of course she didn't necessarily expect him then. Then her teenage years, and he wasn't there. He was filled with great sadness. But she kept on waiting. And she had a few other relationships, had children as a result of them, but they were never real loves in her life. They were more, just placeholders. And she actually, she interjects that she actually kind of felt guilty about her other relationships that she had, like maybe she was betraying her true lover. She waited and waited and waited and waited. Kind of sitting, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Edith, but sitting in the same chair, never moving, afraid that if she moved to a different chair, meaning if she changed things in her life, that she would miss an opportunity for this true love to find her. So she sat in the same chair year after year, meaning that she didn't want to do anything that might possibly might possibly make it so he couldn't find her. She had a lonely heart, she says. She even named her real estate company that she had, Heart Realty, thinking maybe this would put out some sort of energy or vibration so that he could find her. But he never came along. She waited and waited and didn't change that chair. She didn't allow in the energies of herself, of abundance into her life. She didn't really let other people all that close into her life because she was waiting. And about a month ago, when she really made a real transition, she realized that the one that was her true love was actually killed at an early age in this lifetime. And that he would never meet her now. She realized when she started crossing over a month ago that he was always there for her, encouraging her for her own realization, saying, Edith, do it. I'll follow up. I'll come in later, but do it for yourself now. But no, Edith sat in the same chair, didn't make the changes. So I ask you, Edith, any regrets? Only that he didn't show up. But no regrets, she says, about waiting, because the love is that deep and that great. So Edith, what now? What now? Are you willing to do your realization in another lifetime, with or without? Well, Edith says that she knows now that it's so important for her to allow love and abundance and her own realization in spite of anybody else. But given the choice, she would still rather do it with him. And that was the most important thing to you. And that, dear Edith, has a beauty in it. that beauty of loving somebody so much that you would just wait for them. The beauty of feeling into your heart every day for that person, knowing how much you've been through with them, knowing how much you love them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And Edith adds to her service here that she wouldn't necessarily recommend that to others, that the greatest love she could have given her true love was to allow her own realization and then be here for him when his time was ready. And now comes a time to say goodbye, if you choose. It's time for you to come back into yourself. Time to thank them for this beautiful thing of love. To thank them for being with you, in service to you. But now they understand that it's time for you to come back into you. That's what they've always wanted, without any agenda, without needing anything back. And you can let them know now that as you come into your enlightenment, that you'll be there for them. And if you choose, give this dear one a big hug. Kiss on the cheek. And a goodbye. And then let them free.